everyone, and welcome to another episode of Home and Away, a podcast devoted to all things in and around the world of sporting Kansas City soccer. I am Drew Vanderplug, joined once again, as always, by my good friend Cody Welton. This week on the podcast, Sporting Kansas City were unfortunately unable to capture a result again against Austin FC on Sunday at Children's Mercy Park, falling 2-1 to the Verde, giving up a couple goals on the types of sequences that have unfortunately become all too common for them this year. It was a return to the 4-2-3-1 setup we saw for the first hour against Colorado, and similarly to that game, Kerry Zavagnin switched to the 4-4-2 to attempt to try to take the game to Austin late, but they were unfortunately not able to catch lightning twice and gave up a late set-piece goal that, despite Dejan Joveljic's best efforts in stoppage time, were not able to equalize. It was yet another reminder that this team still has a lot of work ahead of it to become a consistently competitive team in MLS, and reinvigorated conversations about how that team might go about doing it roster-wise. The long-awaited chief soccer officer conversation was brought back with renewed vigor, as Andrew Wiebe reported pregame that the team was in the final interviews for the position, and alluded to some interesting details that really got the conversation going regarding how significant this roster turnover in the winter could potentially be. The U.S. men's national team completed their September international window with two very differentiated performances. Candidly, the first game was quite different between the two halves against South Korea, and in an interesting tactical switch by Pochettino, had at least one member of this podcast crew making comparisons to Sporting Kansas City, and how a setup we've begged for most of the year might bring similar positive results. Finally, the Kansas City Current will continue to dominate the NWSL. We'll do a quick stock up, stock down of the men's national team roster, and get into a preview of this weekend's trip to Salt Lake City. Cody, we got the midfield I asked for, with the double Jacob double pivot, as well as
two skinny Jakes. That's what I'm calling it.
Yeah, two skinny Jakes.
That's for the old ones on the podcast.
That's an old head reference right there. As well as the first start for Sporting Kansas City's most recent signing, center back Alan Montes. What are your initial thoughts on the performance of these players in this one, especially considering how the game played out and how Austin were looking to manage this game tactically?
I don't know. I was not that impressed, frankly, with the performances by the two skinny Jakes, especially one Jacob Bartlett. Although I think I should caveat that by saying that I was not really disheartened with his performance. I think it was a typical young player performance. He does, I think, tend to show better as a single pivot defensive midfielder and a double pivot. And I think that unfortunately, one of the things that is glaring and continues to be a problem throughout the season is he plays some risky balls and not risky balls that that have a high payoff on the other end. And he plays a lot of hospital balls. And in fact, I started in my mind calling him Hospital Bart because he puts his teammates into difficult situations a lot. And I think that's something that I think it's something that speaks to his inexperience. I think it's something that speaks to his impatience, which also speaks to his inexperience. And it seemed more prevalent in this game. And I don't know that might just be anecdotal, but it really seemed like he was not calm and did not have the field presence necessary to put his teammates into good places with his passes. What do you think?
I think I understand where you're going with that, and I agree with you. I think his game rating is still not at the level where he is seeing the spaces and the closure rate of spaces effectively.
Yeah.
I think also against a team like Austin, it jumps off the page a lot more because Austin is very much trying to counterattack you. Mm-hmm. So they are looking to close that passing angle, get the turnover, and immediately go upfield against you. So the danger is even higher against an opponent like that.
But that's a known component of Austin's game. So.
Of course, yeah, and I think that so it becomes much more significant. Like the moments when that happens become much more significant. I think additionally to your point, the way that Austin was playing, there was not a need to be too urgent with your passing, right? It was okay to pass it around and pick your moment where space was available. Try to move them around a little bit before you played that pass, as opposed to getting a little bit impatient and trying to force a ball somewhere. That is exactly what Austin wants you to do, is to attempt to force a pass in a place that you would prefer not to go. I think really for me, and Matt Doyle actually hit this in his I think it was his power rankings or whatever he does. I think it was the power rankings where he put it in there. Neither one of these guys is very adept at receiving the ball on the turn.
Yeah.
So if their back is to the opponent's goal, the ball is always going backwards off their feet.
Yep.
And it takes them so long to turn forward that by the time they've done it, even if they're not under pressure, any opportunity for them to progress forward is sort of lost. Mm-hmm. Some of Alan Montez's best passes in this game are ones that completely bypass those guys.
Yeah.
Like, they were line splitters past even Austin's midfield line, in between the midfield line and into a pocket where Santi Munoz would be, right? Like, those were the best passes we really saw from this sort of mid-block shape that Austin was sitting in. And it was because the two guys that were playing in this double pivot aren't ball progressors.
Yeah.
And even to your point, when Bartlett attempts to be a ball progressor, he's not good at it. And Jake is more of he's more of a receive the ball in an attacking zone and do something with it after it's already progressed via the wings or however they move it forward. And it just goes to show how huge of an absence Manu Garcia is to this team right now, because they're just so bereft of any type of ball progressor in midfield.
Yeah, and well, not even in midfild. I mean, just in general, I think that one of the things I've been thinking about a lot lately is just progression as its own sort of important metric, right? Like, just as important as like XG or other defensive metrics. Like, that's a component of the team that you have to have. You have to have a mechanism by which you can progress the ball down the field, and that's why that's one of the reasons. It's one of the main reasons why I kind of disagree with a lot of the discourse in the Discord about Ndembe. I know the price of that player is makes people shy away, but you have to realize that if the team doesn't have Ndembe, they have to replace ball progression somehow, and it can't all be on Manu Garcia. And they have not shown the ability to progress the ball in a meaningful way without either one of those players. Like, it's a really difficult thing.
But I don't think it's a zero-sum thing, though, Cody. You can replace Logan Ndembe and add ball progressors at the same time.
I totally agree. But I don't. I just, like, you're taking a known and getting rid of that and replacing it with an unknown. It might turn out great.
It's depending on investment and value, and we'll get into the chief soccer officer conversation in a second. But
my point is that player is not without value, and that player's value really is in progression. It's in he is one of the.
It was on display in this game because they had no way of moving the ball forward because. For reasons passing understanding, Shapi Suleimanov was playing on the left.
Dude.
For the first half hour of this game. And Shallowy was on the right, and there was just no wide progression for half an hour.
I am so confused about the continued insistence on playing that dude massive minutes. Like, seriously, I am. Are we trying?
It doesn't like they have anybody else.
Well, right. I mean, like anybody else, right? Like, that would be better, in my opinion.
I don't know that it'd make much difference.
It might not. It might not. But
Afrika's been pretty poor when he's been in games this year. Like,
Shapi is not it. Like, he's just not it. And
especially on the left. Holy shit.
Yeah, he was anonymous. I mean, the whole idea, right? Is
he does draw the penalty when he's inverted from the left. But anyway,
the whole idea is that if you have a left-footed player playing on the left, the whole the idea, or a right-footed player playing on the right, like, all of a sudden crosses should become a larger component of the game, and a more valuable component, right? Like that's part of the reason why you flip those players, and that like he's just not that. Like that is not his game. He just has a very super limited skill set, and he's really good, or not really good. He's above average at a couple of things, and everything else he is markedly below average in.
He has a very, very good left foot, and taking that diagonal run with the ball at his feet at speed
For shooting.
the defense. Yeah, for shooting. A very good left foot for shooting. Yeah, and like you saw, as soon as he moved to the right side, he immediately started attacking their fullback with those driving runs, and then would he be able to hit the ball across the top of the box, like Leibold had a shot off from that range. Like it was immediately evident that the left side thing wasn't working, and Kerry got them to switch, and things got better. But the other thing was, like, they did try to progress up the left side, and they would try to pull Austin's pressure forward in the build-out, especially from goal kicks. They would try to pull Austin's pressure forward and then use Volader and Leibold to send the ball up the left flank. And Shoppy would get on it and then do the thing he always does, which is just stop as soon as he sees a defender.
He's slow.
Like, he's slow.
He's not a physically strong player, and he's really not good at beating players 1v1. He's just not, and he's good at he's good at finding space where that he can receive the ball. Progressive space where he can receive the ball without a lot of pressure and then driving the ball forward, and then either cutting it onto his left foot to shoot or finding a pass around the 18. But he's not racking up assists, and he's not even really racking up shots on target. And so
he was for like the first half of the season.
Right, but he's a one-trick panu, Drew. I mean, everybody knows how to. I mean,
once they saw him, there was 12 games of film on him, the gig was up, right? Yep. They knew what to expect from him, and I was surprised that Austin was willing when he switched back over the way. I was really surprised that Austin was willing to defend him with just a fullback as much as they were, because that is why he got so much joy. Once they pulled a center back over there to double him.
Yeah, that's it.
It was it. And it's just like, I don't know. I mean, this team's just not that good.
No, this is so difficult to to talk about them every week, and to realize that you're arguing minutia of players who either won't be here next year or who are more than likely
be here next year,
or who are more than likely going to be subs, right? I mean, that's yeah.
Right. I mean, and I think that's the thing, right? Like, we're saying, like, could it be this person? Could it be that person? In the grand scheme of things, I'm not sure how much it matters, other than my week-to-week enjoyment of watching this team play.
Yeah.
And I don't know that I would enjoy watching Steven Afrifa for 60 minutes better than I would enjoy watching Shoppy Suleimanov. I think we're getting far in the margins.
I don't disagree at all. I mean, it's like this is where the discussion about Sporting Kansas City mirrors the discussion about the U.S. men's national team, right? Is that you were complaining and gnashing teeth about players who aren't even going to be close to the World Cup roster probably, and so
there's a few that I think will be on the basis of the last couple games.
Totally agree.
But yeah, there's a few that have definitely played themselves out of those positions.
Yeah.
I think one of them you're a big fan of and going to be grumpy about. But I mean, it is what it is.
No, I'm not.
You have to play well to earn the right to play on that team. You have to play well to earn the right to play on Sporting Kansas City. And unless you're just a little bit better than the other shitty options on the team.
Right.
The set pieces. What did you think of the set pieces in this game? Because first of all, that was the big calling card that I said of Alan Montes, is that he is a set-piece weapon, and we saw this in this game. Like, he is a set-piece weapon. The long throws, especially the first one early in the game from Bartlett's great. Like, he gets this thing almost all the way across the center of goal. It's a great long throw. We need someone other than Kyrie Shelton on the end of it.
Yeah.
I just have never seen a more a taller, more athletically gifted soccer player be so bad at attacking set pieces?
Yeah.
He's just terrible at.
I mean,
he was like legitimately surprised the ball got to his head.
And he's an attacker by trade, so it's like, what? I mean, Sada Abdul Salam was a tall guy, but he was just a fullback, and
he was a fullback.
He was allergic also to winning aerial duels in any sense.
Yeah, but Kyrie wins aerial duels as a defender.
Yeah,
he's actually pretty good at those.
Yeah,
the attacking ones, he's just, I don't know. There's something that doesn't connect with him for whatever reason. But the long throw was nice.
Yeah,
I liked it. Let me put it this way: the design of the set pieces is good. The execution of them with Bartlett is good. That's the positive you got for Jacob Bartlett is long throws, free kicks, corner kicks. He's quite good at them, and Zavagnin is perfectly happy to keep giving him those kicks and making Leibold take the in-swingers on the right side. Like those are using the positive traits of your otherwise limited players in a good way, I think is good coaching, right? And we're seeing that.
Although Leibold hit some corner kicks that I would really just prefer that Bartlett be taking. So
as outswing, you'd rather Bartlett take the outswinger?
I mean, I would rather someone take corner kicks who can get the ball like into the box. I mean, when Joveljic scored his second goal against Colorado, that was Bartlett taking an outswinger, and he just ripped it near post. So I think I think that there's something to be said. Yeah, Leibold floats the back poster too much. I agree. Leibold just I thought he had another unconvincing game, but I do kind of want.
He had a couple good shots. He should have scored.
Sure.
He had a couple nice that's what
at the beginning before he
at fullback. His best qualities are in zone 14
in the first 20 minutes.
In the first 20 minutes,
right.
He I think it's Bukhari gets a shot right towards the end of the first half. And it's another circumstance where Leibold just could not give a shit less about being weak side defending. I
mean, he's already played 45 minutes, Drew. What do you want from him? Come on.
Yeah.
Anyway. I do want to talk about Montez because I think there was a lot of positive chat about Montez on the Discord, and I'm just like not there, honestly. I don't. I see the positives of having that sort of large presence, potentially physically dominating presence, but man, that dude is slow and
I
warned
you about this.
and not that athletic, and he's not dominant enough in set pieces to compensate for it, and he's not. He's still like. The problem is like maybe there's a good player in there, but he's still like to me when I watched him, I saw very much a developmental player, and that is not what this team needs. This team has enough developmental players.
To be fair, he's 24. He's like a half year older than Jansen Miller.
Yep.
So from that perspective, and center backs generally don't hit their prime until they're mid to late 20s.
Totally agree. But do you want to spend money on a developmental center back? Spend money and an international roster spot?
I'm not suggesting any of that.
I mean,
I want to be clear. I'm not suggesting that. I'm just saying for his benefit, him looking a little rough is because he doesn't have a ton of pro minutes, and he's still developing himself.
Yep.
I would say that I am unconvinced. Let me put it this way. I'm not like down on him. I'm just unconvinced.
Right.
I don't think anything from this performance leads me to believe anything along the lines of this is a player that they should definitely pick up.
Right.
I need to see more. I definitely need to see him play against a team that is trying to stretch the back line a lot more.
Yeah.
Austin, there were the things I appreciated about his game regarding sort of like to your point about Bartlett being a little bit impatient and a little bit erratic. Montez was the opposite of that. He's a very calming sort of presence. When he's on the ball, he sort of sits on it. He looks. He's a little bit more. And this team could use a calming presence defensively. Like it desperately could use one.
Yeah.
So I did like that kind of stuff. But the game state and the way Austin was playing allowed him to be that way, right? I have no idea what he's going to be like against a team who presses higher.
Yeah.
I have no idea what he's going to be like against a team who gets through Sporting's midfield with fast attackers, which happens a lot to this team. So I need to see some of that and what he does in those situations before I'm really comfortable. It was kind of interesting, the dichotomy between him and Jansen Miller, because when Miller came on, Miller's a much more active player. Like, it's just immediately obvious how much more active Miller is. That doesn't necessarily mean better. It just means more active. Montez is a guy who reads the game, I think, way better than Miller does. I think his natural positioning when the opponent gets into crossing situations, into early cross situations for early delivery, his natural inclination is to cover areas of the box where the ball might go.
Right.
I don't know that we have any other defenders that do that. So
that's accurate.
I think that where I understand where your reluctance comes, and I'm with you, I am unconvinced. He does display qualities that this team needs. Mm-hmm. I don't know if he's a starting MLS defender. I really have no idea. I off the basis of one match, I would not say he is.
Yeah.
But that is one match. That's his first match he's ever started for this team. I'm not necessarily going to write it in stone that that's where they are. So I need to see him more, and there's no reason that he shouldn't play the rest of the year for us to figure this out.
Sure. I'm not opposed to playing him the rest of the year. But yeah, I think I was not as optimistic with the early returns as a lot of people seem to be. I mean, I think that
it was new. I think it was new, and
that's it, right?
And
the bar is low.
And this team has nobody who wins headers on corner kicks. So, like, to have a guy do it multiple times, like, he was tied for most shots in the game.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, he had the one headed shot that I thought he would score on, the other one that was sort of deflected, and then he of course he took one with his feet as well. And I just, like, this team is so desperately needs some danger on attacking set pieces. Like, that, I think that's part of the problem is like there are areas where this team is just in dire need of certain qualities, and he has some of those. So I think that's probably why people got excited about him. It's kind of like, well, we'll get to this when we talk about the U.S. men's national team. Alex Dejas, I thought he played well in his games, but I don't know if it was quite as good as everybody's making it out to be.
Right.
It was good, and he deserves to get called up again, but it's not like, oh my God, starting lineup for the World Cup, right? Like, there's levels to this. And similarly with Alan Montes, I think he was fine. That's what I would say. I think he was fine in this game. He didn't do anything that I was, like, super concerned about. Like, he didn't make any massive mistakes that I would say that was like, oh my God, what are you doing? He got absolutely burned by Hector O'Brien early in the game, and that was when I think I said in the Discord, I was like, I told y'all he's not fast.
No.
But again, if you're asking your center back to be responsible for single-handedly cutting out counterattacks over and over again, that's a different problem.
It's going to be bad.
Right? Yeah. It's just, no one's going to be consistently successful at that. The 4-4-2 comes back out at about the hour mark again. Again, this is a game where Austin was sitting back a lot like Colorado was once they were up 2 goals. And the difference this time was it was Santi Munoz that comes off the field. And so you continue with Shoppy and Shallowy, and Mason Toy moves in the middle. And it was not near as successful as it was against Colorado. And I think I'm highlighting what I think is the reason why, which is that Santi Munoz is not on the field. Like, they took the one guy who can hit the final ball.
Yep.
That's healthy on the team off the field, and so there was no service. So it's like and Toy and Joveljic and all these guys, they all need someone to give them the ball, and we're asking the two skinny Jakes to do it.
And you're also you're chasing the game, and you put in Toys who's one maybe above average skill is getting in behind, and Austin's not going to let you in behind. Why would they? Right? They're ahead. And so
it was tied at that point, but yeah.
Oh, but still, right? They're going to play for a point on the road regardless, right? They're not going to allow space.
They were playing that way when they were down 1-0. Yeah, what are you talking about?
Well, they are not good. It was disappointing to lose to that team because they suck ass. They
were missing so many players. They were down a ton of players for international duty, and Ilya's back spasms. Injuries, he did get into this game. Yeah, injuries and all kinds of stuff. Red card accumulation or red card suspensions. There was a variety of reasons that Austin was missing as many players as they were.
Even with all their players, they're not good though. They're not just not a good team.
They're not a great team.
But yeah, I was not impressed. I think that was a bad KZ move, right? That was a bad KZ showing up to do what. It was just
a little like. I don't understand. I mean, was he trying to say, was Munoz tired? Like, what was the reason for pulling Munoz off the field?
I don't know. Because I think that I feel like just before that, Munoz had a ball, like maybe a through ball type of opportunity to Joveljic that came close to getting to being at least controlled in the box, and it was just a little mishit, and so Joveljic wasn't able to get on it, but Munoz is the only player on the field capable of making that pass, and so it just didn't make any sense to me.
I mean, Munoz did not have a great game. I'm going to be clear. Like, I'm not in any way suggesting that he had a fantastic game. I just don't know who else was meant to provide service.
Yeah, there's nobody. It's
because Leibel came off at the same time.
Yeah, it's not a team with a lot of creativity in terms of passing. We know that, and when you take off your, the two creative passers who were on there and bring on players who are less creative and more direct, you're just limiting the way that you can play.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, it's not like the cupboard was stocked with options, but also, like, I understand if Munoz is not having a good game, you're like, okay, why am I leaving him out there? But also, like, what is your expectation of how this is going to work?
And why is Shoppy out there? Why do you leave Shoppy out there?
I mean, the Shoppy by the numbers had a pretty good game. Like, his underlying numbers are actually pretty good in this one. Most of it happened after he moved to the right, but it was very much a Shoppy kind of performance where, he moved to the right side and you immediately saw him be much brighter and be much more active and participate and sort of hit the pass before the pass in a couple circumstances. But there was no end product on any of it. Right? So, like, yeah, he was better, but there was no end product. I don't know. I mean, I thought we saw in the Colorado game when Toy came on and Munoz sort of stayed central, even though he was nominally supposed to be on the left, and was able to, slide some passes into Toy's runs that, like, things got better. And we didn't see that because Munoz was not on the field anymore. So again, I'm confused by the choice.
But here we are. I don't know. Here we are nitpicking performances of players who really are not good enough to be MLS
this is a
starters.
Podcast about a shitty
I know,
soccer
no,
team,
but I'm just pointing out, like, the absurdity of it. We're nitpicking performances of players who really are not good enough to be starters on decent MLS teams. And so that's just kind of that is where things are right now.
Well, that's where I get to on some of this roster conversation. I think I said it at one point. I was like, maybe all 17 need to go.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, do I think that Santi Munoz is a good player because he's actually good, or do I think he's good because he looks good by comparison to some of these not very good players, right? It's difficult for me to really, square that one. I'm fairly confident in the fact that Manu Garcia and Dejan Joveljic are good players. I can see that. That is fairly easy for me to see. The rest of the team,
Yep, totally agree.
Maybe.
I am.
Some of them, maybe.
You can't see because it's we don't have the YouTube stream, but I'm just nodding vigorously, right? It's just like yes, I would be fine with a full roster turnover. Everybody who can be gone, be gone. Like there's nobody who I would be sad to see go from a playing standpoint, from a on-field production standpoint, and that's just. I would be and am concerned about the club's ability to bring in that many new players, but it's not like that things can always be worse, but it's not like they can be much worse, right? I mean,
Joveljic damn near Thanos the game to a 2-2 on his own. Did you see him? Like he's like, all right, I'll do it myself, kind of thing, and dribbles through like 4 fucking guys, and somehow Stuver makes a great save, and Brad Stuver is a fantastic goalkeeper, and I think also. I don't want to bag on Pulskamp, but he's not great on the first goal. He's not great. I don't think it's as bad as I originally thought the first time I saw it.
Yeah.
But it's not good, and it's definitely a learning moment. And then you see someone like Stuver, who is a very good MLS goalkeeper.
Yeah.
Basically get them the 3 points. Like that was what Stuver did.
He's also a veteran. Like he's not 24 years old,
he's 34.
Right. So this is the thing. I mean, it could be worse. Like we could have a veteran goalkeeper and still be shit, which is what St. Louis is. So,
That's a fair point. Yeah.
30 minutes.
Shots.
I made it.
42 shots.
31
shots,
minutes.
61 crosses and 1 goal. We did get to revel in the inability of St. Louis to win a game in which they were up a man for 75 minutes, and Dallas really didn't even try to play soccer for most of the game.
Yep, we should revel in it.
Well, we should. I mean, there's not much else to revel in.
No, no, and I think that somebody brought it up in the Discord, but there's part of me that. There's part of me that wants St. Louis to quote unquote win the spoon, just because it would be hilarious. But there's also part of me that doesn't want them to ever win anything ever, like even the spoon. I don't want them to ever get anything.
I mean, I would love to make the joke that they won something in 3 years that Sporting Kansas City has never won in 30.
Yeah, that would be
great.
It's just right there to be teed up. Yep,
that would be amazing.
It would.
Anyway, so moving on to the roster. Our friend Andrew Wiebe was at the game for Sunday Night Soccer.
Looking dapper as hell, I should say.
He got his fresh delivery from Suit Supply, I guess. And was there? I mean, well, and he's moved back to Kansas City. I don't know if you knew that. But
I knew
he's
that.
Moved back to the KC area. He's living in Overland Park now.
As one does.
As one does, yeah. And a nice commute for him for this one. But I guess during the pregame in the MLS countdown or whatever, he had a hit where he was talking about some news about the chief soccer officer search. Most of what he said is not stuff that is news, really. All of it is stuff that I'd been hearing since mid-July, honestly, as far as like they're getting down to the final candidates and final interviews, blah, blah, blah. They're in the quote-unquote final interviews. There was a couple noteworthy things.
They fucking better be.
Yeah, no shit. There was a couple noteworthy things that I just thought it was interesting that they said publicly. One was that it was coming from outside the organization, which is good. That means Mike Burns is not going to be the new chief soccer officer, which I'm sure has everyone breathing a sigh of relief. I mean, Burns has done fine as a GM or sporting director, but they need someone with much larger sort of ideas and experience for delivering on those ideas. But additionally, when I saw the quote, I was sort of raised an eyebrow and I was like, maybe I missed it or didn't see it correctly. And so I waited till later when I could actually like see what he said. And then he put it on Twitter as well, that the team could open 2 DP slots and all their U22 slots. And I was like, 2 DP slots? Both of their DPs cannot be bought down. So we're talking about a buyout or a sale or something along those lines of somebody for that to happen. And like I think someone replied to him in the saying, "Well, their DPS can't be bought down." It's like that's not the only way you can open a DP slot. And then he starts to double down over it, I guess, over the next 24 hours about the fact that there have been offers for Joveljic and all this stuff, and that just got everybody in a spin for obvious reasons, right? Like it has been so long since this team has spent money effectively on attacking players and found anyone of this kind of level.
Yep.
Like, I mean, candidly, I don't know that they have. Like, Polito has never scored this many goals in a season.
No.
And never was of this level, in my opinion. Dejan Joveljic is an elite striker in this league. And it was a huge coup when they signed him. And I can understand some concern coming from the fan base that, oh man, is he leaving or whatever. I think we all need to calm down just a little bit when it comes to that conversation for a couple of reasons, right? One, all Wiebe is reporting on is some stuff that somebody said that like, hey, maybe the new CSO might accept an offer for him and have an opportunity to add 2 DPs as a part of that or whatever. That's just conjecture. That's not reporting. That's not, hey, this is happening. The fact that Sporting has had offers for Dejan Joveljic should be the least surprising thing of all time.
Yeah.
We know that that Tigres was their competition for him in the winter. And we're not talking about a guy who's got 3 of his 4 seasons in MLS with double-digit scoring, and it continues to go up.
Right.
Right? Like, he's just turned 26. He is obviously a high-quality striker, and he's European. There are going to be suitors for him.
Yep.
Whether any of those offers come close to the valuation that Sporting has for him, especially given the fact that he's under contract for another 2 years, we'll see, right? Like, that's a whole separate conversation. Whether the new CSO says, hey, no, fuck that, we want to keep him here, and Decky's like, well, okay, but these offers are giving me this extra compensation. We're like, okay, here's your contract extension with that extra compensation. That can be a conversation as well. There are so many permutations that have to go through before any of this becomes a reality. Wiebe's just doing what he does that creates some engagement, right?
Sure. Well, and the thing is too, like, from a league standpoint, like if you want to play in the big leagues, if you want to play with the big dogs, like this is what happens, right? I mean, other clubs across the world are going to be looking more intensely at your league and more intensely at your team, and you have to be prepared. It's a trite saying, but it's true. Like every club, but like 3 or 4 clubs in the entire world are selling clubs, and so when you have good players who are young and have value, you have to on some level be prepared for them to leave.
Columbus probably gave up their chance at a double at back-to-back when they sold Cucho last year.
Yep, absolutely.
And they had to.
Yep.
You just have to.
You do. It's malpractice to keep a player if you can sell them on for that much of a profit. And
I don't know. They didn't even get that big of a profit.
Right,
for Cucho.
but he wanted
Cucho
to go.
Also, it's like I want to go play in La Liga,
and you have to let players do that, because if you don't, then no player's going to want to come play for you.
You can't sign the next one, right? Yep. And it's part of the business of this, and it would be. I understand why fans will be frustrated by it, and I also said this on the Discord. I think the problem is, it has been like I wouldn't say so long. It has been never that Sporting has played in this world. They have not been a selling team.
No.
This is not something that they have been involved in, where they sign high-quality players and they sell them on for huge profits. Like, Busio was literally the only sale of any significance in the club's history.
Yep.
Like, and when I say any significance, I'm talking comparatively to other big MLS sales.
Yep.
And so, like, but they have a guy now that when they start targeting these younger players of quality, and they're able to pull them in and get results out of them, the teams are going to come calling. And that is when you pocket a pile of cash and you reinvest it in the next transfer.
Yep.
And that is why a qualified, legitimate CSO is so important, because if you're going to do the things they're doing with the discretionary budget side of things, as far as having money for transfer fees and designated player salaries, et cetera, above and beyond the regular salary budget, that also means you need someone who knows how to use that fucking money.
Yep.
And do it effectively and create profit from these player sales and then reinvest it into the roster to make it even better.
Yep.
And it's just something that fans of this team are so unaccustomed to because it's just never something this team has done.
Right,
really,
because the alternative is signing over the hill players and giving them their last big paycheck, and we've seen that happen multiple times with multiple players.
How many times have I told you that was like a major flaw of Peter Vermees's recruitment strategy?
Yep.
Is that he was continuously coming back to ownership asking for money. He was never actually creating any revenue of his own.
Yep.
Like it's a significant issue as a chief soccer officer that all you're doing is spending money. LAFC spent a ton of money to get Heung-min Son, right? But they're also going to sell David Martinez for a ton of money. They've also got other players. They have a ton. They've actually made sales of significance that replenish those coffers that made their owners like, okay, we're cool with throwing a little on top for Son Heung-min. Also, obviously, the marketing and everything. There's a different dynamic with that signing, but still, like, it isn't like a situation where Thornton has spent $50 million on transfer fees, got none in return, and is asking for another 30. Right? Like that's not what's happening in LA. And it's not what's happening with any of these teams, sans Miami a little bit. I mean, they have sold some younger players for money, but they're obviously, I think they're spending more on quite a bit more on transfer fees than they're getting in return. But
this
that's
is
a completely different ownership situation, I think, as far as what they're trying to do.
This is why you support clubs and not players, and I think that might be like it's kind of a different thing than other American sports to some degree, because guess what? The NFL is the NFL's own market. Like the NFL is not competing with anybody else for players. So
outside of the Mahomeses of the world, those guys change teams all the time too.
Absolutely, they
Justin
do.
Reed played 3 years in Kansas City, and he was gone. Eric Berry, like all these different players, like that you can think of on the Chiefs that were huge players. Frank Clark, just a variety of other ones that were like big.
Brody Croyle,
big parts. Brody, yeah, exactly. Matt Schaub. Anyway, like there are a number of players that played big parts in some of these Super Bowl runs and whatnot that were there for a year or two.
Right.
It's even in the NFL, it's super common for players to move around. It's generally to other parts of the NFL, or maybe they're not and we don't see them that much after that. But
imagine how shitty it would be if instead of an MLS, like Sporting Kansas City were in the Bundesliga, and you had good players, but they always got sold to Bayern Munich all the time, and you had to watch your favorite player go play for Bayern Munich, and probably sit on the bench, right, and not even play, and then beat you.
Well, Bayern beat you 3-0.
Yeah, dude, that sucks ass. This is better.
Are you like podcasting Zach Cobb right now?
I think no, I'm not. But if I was, like, you could have I don't know, probably 6 months of podcasts about Dortmund and what a mess they are. So I wouldn't touch that with a 10-foot pole, man.
Mm-hmm. Indeed. Anyway, I think the point that we're all making is, no one's expecting Joveljic to be going anywhere, and there's no reporting, there's no nothing that leads us to believe that is a reality that is even likely to happen in this winter. But that said, if some team comes and offers 15 million euros,
maybe even 10, like
10 is we had this conversation on the Discord. Like, what's the break point?
Yeah.
I think he's hard to replace at 10 million.
Yeah.
I think he's hard to replace.
I totally agree.
I'm trying to think of like what value are you getting enough back for where you can, and you're probably not replacing him with another striker that can produce like him.
Right.
You're probably moneyballing it a little bit and replacing him in the aggregate. Right.
Yep, absolutely.
But I think we get to like the $13 million or more range.
Yep.
Now we're starting to get to a place where I think you can sign 2 DPs and do that, right? And make the team overall better because there's just more quality players on the field. And I think that's the other thing. It's like they need another DP desperately. Yes. And if this helps them fund 2 really good DPs, then Like, what are we doing?
To be clear, what the club needs more than one good player is just an overall talent upgrade. The club needs more good players, period. Because they are at a talent deficit almost every time they step on the field. And the fact that they're not in serious wooden spoon contention is a tribute to them and a tribute to Zavagnin, I think, to some degree, because they are just not good.
Mm-hmm. I mean, in complete fairness to this team, they won the XG battle. They won the non-penalty XG battle in this game.
Yeah.
They did. Stuver makes a huge save at the end to keep it to 2-1. It probably should have been more of a 1-1 game, honestly. Like the penalty they gave for Xavi's thing is pretty soft, dude. That was fairly fortunate.
Contact is contact, Drew. Come on.
I'm more talking about why is VAR recommending a review.
Sure.
If it was called a penalty on the field, you leave it as a penalty. I don't think VAR necessarily needs to intercede there, but anyway, I'll take it. I'll take any positive luck that comes our way. But yeah, I think we're gonna have to wait and see. Hopefully, this CSO announcement's coming soon. It's it's hard for me to tell. I was confidentially told a date that has already passed, so I am kind of in the boat of a lot of folks going, okay, when is this happening?
Yeah.
I did say this on the Discord. The feeling I get is that they're very focused on ensuring they get the right person, and they're getting someone who's really, really got a good plan to hit the ground running. And I'm glad for that, because if you do this wrong, you can fuck the organization for 3 years.
Yeah. And if you do it right, you can be a playoff team next year. Like that's just the nature of the league that we root for, is that the turnarounds can happen really quickly.
Well, and the other problem is if you make the wrong choice, they make the wrong signings, the team still blows. You have lit a ton of money on fire too.
That's not my problem. That's not your problem either.
It's not, but it also creates some reticence to write another giant check that could get lit on fire, right? And
yeah, then you turn into DC
Toronto
United.
FC.
I mean,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah, or right, Toronto. Yeah.
Toronto is actually seems to be getting back to doing things the right way again, but they have had a couple sequences where they have been lighting cash on fire, and you don't want to be that. And I think that we just need to be realistic about the appetite to do that type of thing within the ownership group. Whether it's our problem or not, it secondarily becomes our problem when ownership's like, yeah, well, we're just going to ride this out for a bit because I don't want to write another check, right? Yeah. And I think that realistically, we just need to be understanding of that kind of thing. So I would prefer that they get this right. I would prefer that they have the right decision makers with the right amount of information.
Yeah, I agree.
Making this decision.
Obviously, I agree.
And if that means a couple more voices are involved, and they're really diving in to make sure they do it the right way, then so be it. I can wait another couple weeks. This season's not. There's not much, and I also think that there was a point brought up about the the fact that we're losing time when it comes to preparing for the winter and preparing for 2026. Yes, that is true. That is a concern, and it may be a reasonable one. I will say that anyone that's made it to this round of interviews has been evaluating this team, this roster, and the structure for months.
Yeah,
okay?
They have a plan.
They have a plan, and that plan is part of this interview.
Yep,
right.
Absolutely.
That plan is part of it, and you can expect that when that person is hired, they're going to be given the keys to implement that plan.
Yep.
And I don't expect that it's going to take very long for that to start moving forward. So we'll see. I mean, maybe I'm overly optimistic. Maybe I'm naive. I don't know. But I do think that I'm just as impatient as everyone else. I want this to be done so we can start thinking positively about what might be happening. But I'm just sitting here twiddling my thumbs, doing the Judge Smales like everybody else.
Well, speaking of positive thoughts, I think that the vibes were pretty good in the stadium, and once again, I mean, the stadium wasn't full by any stretch of the imagination, but when you consider
it was pretty light. Sunday night's not a good time.
It is not. It is not. But when you consider it was Sunday night during the school year, with two crappy ass teams and no real big stars to speak of, to get that level of attendance and engagement, I thought was good, and I just continue to be proud and impressed at the way that that Sporting Kansas City's fans show out to support a team that is just frankly not good, and I think that they deserve some credit for that. I'm not one of those people who's like, you should stay home if the team is shit. No, I mean, if you want to do that, fine, but I will never advocate for that. I feel pride when I see people, coming to support the club, and the players, even if the product on the field isn't what it could be.
And the Cauldron brought the horns back out.
They did.
It was nice, man.
It was a party. It was like a concert.
Yeah, yeah. You could hear them too, all the way over on the south end. You could hear them, so it was nice. It was definitely, like I said, I understand what Apple's trying to do with Sunday Night Soccer. I don't think it's very good for in-stadium environments because it's Sunday night at 6. It's just not when people want to go to sporting events.
No.
I mean, I guess, the NFL is such a completely different world as far as supply and demand. But
I mean, I would much rather it be on Friday night, frankly, but that's just me.
I mean, well, and I think the reason that this game was on Sunday night is they want to have a Sunday night soccer game every week, and it's the international window, and Sporting and Austin were one of 5 games this weekend. So I think that was it more than anything else. But anyway, let's move on to a little bit of a tactical corner conversation. So we're going to merge the Sporting and U.S. men's national team conversation a little bit here, mainly because during these 2 friendly games for the U.S. men's national team, which everyone took totally rationally on social media, by the way, everyone dealt with it without any type of overreactions or concern or crazy concerns or just wild assertions about what was going on. The first half against South Korea was like Sporting Kansas City PTSD watching them. It was just it was watching a team in a 4-4-2 mid-block that did not have any idea how to defend. Yeah. Just no idea. I cannot remember watching a more disorganized defensive team outside of Sporting Kansas City. They were just completely confused as to what area they were supposed to be defending. A lot of it had to do with the fact that Korea was very much attacking the right side of the U.S.'s shape, which was where Serginho Dest and Christian Pulisic were, neither of whom are known for putting in a 90-minute defensive shift. Right. So there was that, and alongside them, sort of defending that side, was Sebastian Berhalter, and then the right side of center back was Christian Blackman in his first cap.
Yeah.
So that went about as well as you'd expect. They were just struggling really with their defensive shape and understanding what spaces they were supposed to cover and having any type of cohesion in that. It was also, and I know you're not going to like hearing this, probably one of the worst Tyler Adams performances I've ever seen. It was so bad. The scuff guys like to call it doing a Cardoso when you're facing your own goal with the ball at your feet and don't know the pressure's coming to your back to take the ball off you. Yeah. Tyler Adams got Cardoso'd 3 times in the first half of this game, where he just was completely unaware of pressure on his back while receiving the ball, facing his own goal, and just got blitzed. And it's
that's not acceptable.
No, especially for a guy who's supposed to be a veteran presence on the team. He's got
he is
70 caps for the team or 60 caps for the team now. It's wild.
He is a very, very good Premier League player. A limited player, but a very good player nonetheless. And there's no way that he should be getting, pantsed like that, honestly.
It was unbelievable. And then he also struggled with the thing that I see more of a problem with him with the national team than with with Bournemouth. And maybe it's because he's around a bunch of much better players, so he doesn't feel the need to do it.
Yeah.
But we've seen him do this with the national team a lot, where he all of a sudden leaves his line and goes 20 yards north to press somebody for no fucking reason.
I think that's exactly what it is. I think he's trying to overcompensate and just do too much because the talent.
Meanwhile, he's left Sebastian Berhalter doing the John Travolta meme.
Right.
Like, what the fuck, dude?
Speaking of, I didn't mention this, but I feel like it's appropriate to mention now. I completely just clocked Kyrie Shelton doing the exact same thing. Like the ball went into midfield and he followed the player into midfield, running alongside of him, and in the space he vacated, two players ran in, and then the ball went right over there. And I was like, Jesus Christ, dude! Seriously, it's like so easy. But it's the same idea, right? It's like you don't trust your teammates. You're doing too much. You don't trust that you can just hand that zone off to whoever else is responsible for that zone. And then so you do too much, and then by you doing too much, you just cause a lot more work for everybody else. It's not teamwork.
No.
It's the antithesis to teamwork.
100%. And it was a significant problem. And the Scuff guys went into it in pretty good detail, so I'm not going to repeat a bunch of stuff that they've said. But I think that it was a mess. Obviously a mess. And it was a mess that wasn't solved until halftime, which is a separate problem, I think. And I think the Vince and Bells got across pretty well on Scuffed was like, hey, we've got, you got Christian Pulisic and Tyler Adams on the field. Somebody should be like the adult on the field and we go,
and Tim Ream, who is like literally the adult. He's like the grandpa. Come on, dude, get your shit together.
So absent in the first half of that game. Like most of the play was on the opposite side because he's on the left. Most of the attacking play for Korea was going up the U.S.'s right side. He wasn't organizing the line. He wasn't telling people where to be. Like you would think the guy who has the whole field in front of him would be able to make on the second goal, he had flipped positions with Blackman, which looked like a miscommunication at first, and then eventually they're there, and then he's got all of it in front of him and really does nothing.
Yeah.
Like, gives no direction, does not try to... It was absurd, man. I could not... It was just one of the worst, like, most discombobulated performances I remember watching, and it was confounding as to why it continued to happen, but it did. They come out of halftime. They maintain the same shape. They were kind of in a Christmas tree almost, and they like right around the hour mark, Poch brings in Chris Richards, takes off. Who does he take off at that point? He brings in Chris Richards and a couple others, and they move to a 3-4-2-1. And like, how long have you and I been asking for a box midfield? Well, more with Sporting would we want the box midfield, but definitely even with the U.S. Like,
right.
We have been talking with and there's so many like sort of aligned philosophies with these two teams.
And one of those alignments is a lack of a lack of true wingers, right? Like both of those things are true, right? Like a lack of fullbacks, lack of true wingers. You can have a wing back that melds those two things together, and then you don't have to worry about instead of filling 4 positions, you just have to fill 2, and it gives you some added flexibility in the midfield as well.
Yeah, this is Joe Lowry and I had this conversation before the Japan game, and I was just like, I think this, because of how many attacking players the U.S. has that like to operate in the half space, it just makes more sense for them to be naturally positioned there. And they don't have those. Like Tim Weah is probably the only real chalk on his boots winger they have, and Poch plays him on the left for some reason. So like he's not even doing that.
Right.
And similarly, like with Sporting, like Sporting has almost no fullbacks. I mean, they really have like one fullback. The U.S. has one nominal, like real fullback on their roster, and he's not available right now.
Yep.
I mean, he probably could have been available if they wanted, but I understand why Poch is letting him, settle in post, coming back from his injury and whatnot at Fulham. But they have one fullback of real quality. They have Max Arfston, who's been asked to play as a nominal fullback, who is a converted forward.
Yeah, he is not a fullback.
Serginho Dest defends about as much as Tim Leibold. Let's be honest, okay?
Not a proper fullback. Maybe he's a fullback, but he's not a defender.
And in this camp, you have Alex Freeman, whose biggest positive quality, I mean, he's a much more defensively responsible player, but his biggest positive quality is his athleticism and speed to get up the wing and provide service from wide, which is kind of what a wingback does, right? Yep. So you just saw as soon as they switched to this formation and Freeman came on at the same time, you just saw you saw a team that was much more comfortable. That's exactly the word I was looking for. Like they knew where they were supposed to be. Yep. They were in positions they understood, and they just went and did it. And I thought it was noteworthy because I think Tim Ream said after the Japan game, because they used the formation for the entirety of the Japan game, they beat Japan 2-0, and it was a fully rotated side for Japan. So let's take that for what it is. But also Ream said that like they had not even really practiced this setup. Yeah. It was stuff they didn't, because between the two games, they're not doing a lot of training because it's like Saturday, Tuesday. You can't really do that. So they just did like meetings about it and talked about the positional responsibilities. Because like so many of our guys have played in these types of systems. They're aware of where they're supposed to be. It wasn't a hard thing for us to accomplish. And you saw that in practice, right? Yep. You saw a group of players who just sort of understood their responsibilities. And I think that for me has been the biggest issue with the U.S. men's national team under Poch. He is asking them to play a way they are just very uncomfortable playing or don't have a whole lot of experience playing. Yep. And as a result, you just see a lot of disjointedness. And when you talk about a national team that gets at most 10 days together every other month, it's really hard to build that rapport and that sort of connection with stuff that they're unfamiliar with. And you saw this play out where they go to something that the team is much more comfortable with and the performance improves. Additionally, they put a third center back on the field. And I this is where Joe and I maybe slightly disagree. Joe's sort of premise is if the center back pool is not very good for the U.S., right? Similar to Sporting Kansas City. Their center backs are not that great, right? Why would you prioritize a center back over a midfielder, which is essentially what a back three does, right? You pull a midfielder off the field to put another center back on the field. And my thought process is if the center backs are bad, maybe you need another one to help cover for the others. Like perhaps that is the way to help limit some of the spaces that they're giving up. And I think we saw that in practice as well. So I understand the thing is like ideally you're trying to maximize the positive qualities of all of your attacking players and create it and have as many positive attacking players on the field as possible. But in reality, it's more about how does the team function as a group? Yeah. It's really... That was what I saw as a positive performance.
It's really about rapport, like even more so than formation. I think it's about rapport, and especially I think that's amplified because in international breaks you have so few games and so little time to play together, and so you have to have players who are comfortable in the position that they're in, playing alongside the other players whom they're surrounded by, and so. If you approach it like that sort of ultimate vibes, approach is, yes, of course you want Arvston playing wingback because he plays wingback in his club and he's comfortable there. Why would you force him to play in a completely different system just for this international stuff? So from a vibes aspect, yes, that absolutely makes sense. The vibes aspect of sticking Roldan in the midfield next to Tyler Adams is immaculate, right? Because Roldan, if nothing else, is a vibes maximizer. Like he's like a glue guy, but not like a glue guy with plus skills, right? He's like a glue guy who is a leader and who does what needs to be done, but he holds other people around him accountable. I never liked Roldan as sort of the free eight version that he played oftentimes in older versions of or previous versions of the United States men's team. But I think as a double pivot next to Tyler Adams, that just seems like a perfect vibe to me, right? And having, part of the problem with Josh Sargent is, while he might be, productive for his club team, he never the attack vibes for this team have been off for a long time, and he doesn't seem to vibe with anybody who he's ever on the field with. And obviously, Balogun vibes much better with players like Pulisic and Zendejas.
The effusive praise that Balogun got after the Japan game for just the runs that he makes, that his teammates love to see. Like, they see the run and like, that is something I can hit a pass to, right? Like they see it. The goal he scores, where not only does he make the run around the center back, but he also sort of like stiff arms him off as Pulisic drops the ball into him. It's a beautiful thing. And I think, I have been hoping this version of Balogun was coming. We saw like glimpses of it, but then he was sort of in and out and injured, and just we didn't really get to see him for a long time. And so it's getting myself reacclimated to where he's at, and he is flying right now. I mean, he had that like really great season at Hrans, and then has been sort of anonymous since then, some due to playing time, some due to injury. And so I was not sure where he was at. I had high hopes, but I hadn't really seen it. He showed out big time. He comes in for Sargent and just immediately, like, it was so stark. Yeah. Like, just immediately how much more he was creating problems for the Korean back line when he came on. Sargent, legitimately, so he's going up against Kim Min-jae, who is the center back for Bayern Munich, right? Yep. Like, I mean, this is a good center back.
Not too shabby.
And Sargent, it took about 20 minutes, and he just, like, battled, and he kept losing battles, and then just sort of got disinterested after that.
And, dude, you play in the championship. That's supposed to be, like, one of the most physical leagues in the world. You got to get after it.
I'm not talking about physical. I'm talking about just kept getting beat.
Yeah.
And there's a difference between, so like Kim Min-jae is of a level where he's just better than Josh Sargent. I think that's the thing.
Yeah.
Josh is a big dude. I don't think he's worried about contact. He just kept getting beat to the ball.
Yeah.
Like, it was just like a guy kept playing better, defending him better than he was playing offensively. And he kind of got it. It looked like he just sort of, got out of it mentally. And I mean, this has been a problem for him for a while. Honestly, it is. He can disappear in games a lot. And I mean, I want him. I know that there's a good player in there. Mm-hmm. I don't know that he's got the mental game for international soccer.
Yeah, it's different. Okay. It's different, right? Okay. Absolutely, I mean, it's okay.
There are other guys that appear to have it. Pepe, I think, is one of them that has it. Balogun, obviously, and we'll see with Damian Downs or Daryl Dike or whoever, right? Haji Wright or whoever is the third, forward. I'm not really that concerned about it. But I wanted to get back to the 3-4-2-1 and talk a little bit about also the defensive shape and how it sort of simplifies things, because Poch made this comment and it was very much in alignment with what I noticed when I saw them on the field. So one of my main issues with this back four and with the double pivot that they've been running is that Poch still wants them to build out of a 3-2. Mm-hmm. And so that means you're rotating fullbacks generally, or a midfielder back between the center backs or something along those lines. And there's a lot of rotational responsibility that comes into that. And then additionally, as you go forward, if the ball turns over, what are your defensive responsibilities? What are your cover shadow positions? What are your rest defensive positions? All of that. And that is something this team has struggled with since Poch has taken over. I remember watching it in the early games when Bucio was in camp. I remember watching, like, they got sort of boat raced by Mexico because they just weren't really confident in their defensive positioning. When you're playing in a 3-4-2-1, you already have the 3-2 right there.
Yep.
There's no confusion.
Yep.
It's very simple. Your 3-2-5, your 3-2, 3-2-2-3, or however you want to build it out, it's very simplified. And we saw in these games, how much it just sort of settled down their defensive shape and allowed them to focus on ball progression and those combinations with their teammates. And that is honestly something that I think, taking it back to Sporting Kansas City, that they could really use, like just simplifying their positional responsibilities, because I think part of the problem is there's too much roaming and too much rotational kind of things that need to happen for their shape to work. And as I've suggested over and over, just pull Bartlett back, put him in the middle of the back three, run a double pivot with Manu and Jake in front of him. Hopefully, Manu is in training this week, so fingers crossed. Maybe we'll get to see him again this year. Or just run a back three and make it Montez and Miller and Volader. I don't care.
Yeah,
they don't have fullbacks. Most of their attackers like to operate in the half spaces.
Why fight it?
Just do it.
Yep.
Like, you don't even have to practice it. No. Like, honestly, like, these guys will know where to go.
They will just go to where they're most comfortable, which is perfect for that.
Which is this shape.
It's the point. Yep.
So yeah, that was kind of what I was getting to with it. It's just like, it just simplifies the defensive responsibilities. It simplifies the rest defense positioning. It just simplifies so much. And I think when it comes to the international side of things, you have so little time with these players and working on the different sort of ideas. The structure should be simple.
Yep, I totally agree. And just to add to that, another simplifying factor is the fact that, I mean, that's essentially you're essentially mirroring what Japan was playing. Japan's formation. That simplifies.
Same with Korea as well. Yeah.
That simplifies defensive responsibilities as well. And so, that might not hold true when you're playing a different team, but most teams nowadays like to build out of a 3-2-5 anyway. And so there is, mirroring that might not be the worst plan from the get-go.
Yeah, I would say like the first 10 minutes of the Korea game, I was sort of warmed because, like I said, my main issue with the U.S. under Poch up until this point has been that their pressing structures looked pretty ragged. Yeah. It was always too easy to pass through it. Like their angles that they would take and who was meant to trigger press to who never seemed to be really well sussed out. And even with this sort of Christmas tree, for the first 10 minutes or so, I saw some good pressing. I saw some good pressing structure. I saw Sargent take some sort of angular runs to sort of like, break off the pass behind him via his cover shadow. Like there was some stuff that I actually liked about it. And then it just didn't last. They ran out of steam for doing it effectively, or Korea made some slight adjustments. They, like I said, they have good center backs, so it didn't take long, and they just eventually just broke it apart. Whereas as soon as they went to this 3-4-2-1, which is effectively a 3-4-3 in defensive shape, it just became a man marking thing. And even Tyler Adams said it in the mix zone after the Japan game. Is like, it makes it really simple. It's just like everybody marks their guy, and you just know who you're covering. And there's something to be said for that especially at the international level. When it comes to taking this back to Sporting Kansas City, there's something to be said for the fact that they got a bunch of young guys who aren't very good.
Yeah.
Maybe they will be good at some point with some more experience and some more time and some more, as their soccer IQ levels up. But in the short term, let's simplify.
Yes, I totally agree. You have nothing. I mean, you don't have a lot to lose, right? I mean, and so it's in that aspect, it's the ultimate pragmatic. It's a chance for the good KZ to be ultimately pragmatic and to just come out and put players in their best spots.
Yeah, I just I don't see a reason not to do it anymore unless you're trying not to do it because you think the long-term plan is going to be something else.
Right.
And at which point, wouldn't you rather show as a coach of this team your adaptability and ability to make the team work with various structures in the case that CSO, whoever, doesn't want to keep you there?
One would think.
Anyway. I think that I've beat this drum a lot, but it was warming to see it finally employed by the national team and see it work so well. And obviously there's some confirmation bias for me when it comes to that, but still I think that it was nice to see. And without getting too ahead of ourselves as far as like, is the national team good now? I don't
No.
No, they're not.
No.
They're fine. They're a fine national team.
You can only be, except for very rare cases, you can only be good if you have good players.
It reminds me, I think somebody put it in the SoccerWise Discord, like they or maybe it was in Footy, the whole conversation around, like, someone did a study in the US around how many top 200 players in the world the US had ever created, and I think it was 0.
Yep. Sounds about right.
And it's just a reminder that the quality of talent on this team is not at the level that you might think it is. No. And so maybe you need to be a little bit more pragmatic about getting the value out of the quality that you have, right? And maximizing that value. And sometimes that means doing some different things. I mean, we can all hope and wish that, Tim Weah becomes a, elite attacking player. But he's on his, like, third team in France, and they all play him at fullback.
Yeah, just in terms of...
he was at Juve, so he went from France to Italy to France. So he's on his third team in Europe that wants to play him at sometimes fullback, sometimes winger, sometimes striker.
Just taking the player out of it and just playing the percentages, it's just highly unlikely. It just is. It just is.
Okay, let's move on to potpourri. Just like your favorite Jeopardy category, we've got a couple topics in and around the sporting Kansas City MLS soccer sphere. The Current, they just Death Star their way to another win. I mean, this was not a particularly close game. They probably should have. 2-0 was. I think it was pretty close to the XG, but I mean, it felt even more dominant than that. Jordan Silkowitz made a number of saves. Former Kansas City Current players, now the goalkeeper for Bay FC, made a couple really nice saves until she didn't, and Michelle Cooper just sort of got her. I mean, it's a great sort of touch, turn, and hit by Cooper to go near post with her left foot. I mean, and it's hammered. Like, it was a hard one to get, but goalkeepers never like getting beat near post. So I think that she'll probably want that one back. I will note that this was like, and I think I said this on Blue Sky at the time, this was like the fifth, like, 40-yard ball from Haley Mace that was hit on a fucking dime to somebody, like perfectly weighted into somebody's run. And she was just absolutely dealing in the back of their back three. I mean, she was playing fullback in this one because Elizabeth Ball was back, but yeah, she was just dropping dimes from deep lying fullback. Like, it was fun to see, but she hits a really nice one there. I
like the deep lying fullback. I do.
I know.
I've been kind of thinking that the team should double down on the Death Star branding, but then I got to thinking about what happens to the Death Star, and I was thinking maybe that's a bad idea. Deep lying fullback is better.
Yeah, if you think Trinity Rodman is the Luke Skywalker analogy of this analogy, we don't want that.
Yeah, we're gonna leave it. We're gonna leave that analogy.
We just let that be. But they do just sort of. I mean, they sort of dominated Bay in this one. The other most noteworthy part of this game to me was we're in 90+2, and Temwa just breaks free on the dribble, runs out the whole frickin' team, and just ends it. And it's like, that might be like her most ridiculous quality.
She's a freak athlete, and she never stops.
90+2 just outruns the whole damn team, half of it while she's on the dribble.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Beating other professional athletes while you are dribbling the ball, like just straightaway speed, it's hard to be faster than other players when you're trying to dribble. It's just crazy.
It's hard to be faster than other players when you're just running.
I'm not faster than anybody, like literally anybody, and so
but to do it on the dribble, it just absolutely blitz by, and it was wild. And and the fact that she had the wheels, like the gas to do that in the 92nd minute was just unreal. So good stuff. what else did we want to cover? A couple things regarding the roster. We talked about a little bit about this with the U.S. men's national team roster. Christian Roldan, as you noted, pretty decent against Japan in this double pivot with Tyler Adams. I don't know that he was great. He was fine. He was decent.
He doesn't have to be great. He just has to be better than Cardozo. I mean, let's get...
He does get Cardozo'd in this game.
Yeah.
But, I mean, like, it happens sometimes.
Sure.
He has a really bad giveaway that almost leads to a Japan goal that I didn't like. But also, like, here's the thing. The big difference between him and Seb Berhalter is he's so much more useful in attack. Yeah. Like his passing is so much better. He delivered a lot of balls, and his understanding of when to press, when to counter press, the angle to take to stop plays from happening is just at a much higher level than Berhalter. It was very clear. So like, I think Roldan has surpassed all other MLS level central midfielders, the Berhalters, the Luca Della Torres, etc. That, you know, Jack McGlynn, like all of those. I think he's ahead of them when it comes to potential choices, and I think Poch is going to probably call him in October and see how he looks with with a different camp that probably has Weston McKennie, maybe Yunus Musa, and some others, and see how he looks with that group. But he's definitely earned the right to be called back in again, and has definitely, and with his performances, shown that he is a level above a lot of the other options that have been floated around that maybe not most of the fan base is super excited about.
It's okay. He's a floor setter, right? Like he sets the floor higher, and he makes the players around him better, and that's really something that the team needs, because their performances just as a group are too inconsistent. They need a lot more consistency and a lot more just pure professionalism, and that's something that he brings.
Right. I mean, there's something to be said for the fact that the international game is not for young players.
Right.
It's really not. It's rare that young players stand out in these games. And when they do, they're typically surrounded by a lot of veterans.
Yep.
So you need, having some guys that have seen some shit is not necessarily the worst thing in the world.
Amen.
Maybe not as much shit as Tim Ream's seen.
I mean,
don't need to have seen that much
shit. It's
but
good to have Tim Ream on your team, but you should not be counting on him.
Is it?
Yes, it is. Sure.
In the locker room, can he be like a coach emeritus or something like that?
I resent the ageism that's going on here.
Tim Ream is closer to our age than he is to Alex Freeman's age. Let's be.
In my second job, I swear I'm by far the oldest person there. Most of the people I work with are literal like kids. They're like 18-year-olds, and Jesus Christ, man, I would like to feel that I bring a certain amount of wisdom and professionalism, but most of the time, I just don't even know what they're talking about, and so I'm just feeling old.
I mean, trust me, I'm getting there myself.
That makes me feel older than working in my primary job, which is with literal children.
Teaching
children.
Yeah. The fact that your peers are also basically children.
Children, yeah, it's rough.
Yeah. As we mentioned, I'd be surprised to see Josh Sargent called in again.
Yeah, and that's fine. I mean, I think he has played himself out of the conversation, and shit happens. That's what happens.
You're given opportunities. If you don't take advantage of them, this is what happens.
Yep.
Whereas Balogun, by comparison, who, let's remember, wasn't even going to get called into this camp because because Poch was bringing Brian White.
Sorry.
There's some. Anyway. Christian Roldan probably wasn't in this camp if Poch doesn't watch the League's Cup final. So, again, there's some decisions being made that I do have quibbles with. But anyway, we're getting there somehow. Anyway, I also really, Alex Andejas obviously gets a very nice goal on a very nice delivery from Max Arfsten. To start the scoring in the Japan game, and I think looked generally pretty good. I understand why some people are not like, oh my god, it was amazing. Some people are really liking him. Some people are kind of like, well, was he that impactful? I think I think with Zendejas, you have to understand what he is. And he is a person who is on the ball in tight spaces in zone 14 can make something happen. Mm-hmm. And this team desperately needs more of those than Christian Pulisic.
Yep.
Okay? They desperately need more dudes who can do shit on the ball in a crowded defensive area. And Zendejas is one of those players. He is a guy who will take guys on 1v1 or 1v2 and come out winning. There's a reason that he is... I mean, I watched him in this game. Daniel Sperry texted me and said, how much do you think Sporting would have to pay to get Zendejas? And I'm like, a lot of money. Like, he is a key part of Club America's team. I think Orlando tried to sign him in the winter, and they were like, no fucking way.
Yep.
And they ended up signing Pasalic instead, right? Marco Pasalic was who they ended up signing. Don't get me wrong. If Sporting could pull it off, I would fucking love it. Like, that is a dude that would carve up MLS fullbacks and center backs. Like, I'd be all for it. But I think in this game he was solid and did some things that disorganized Japan and scores a goal. And so, like, it's a, you know, there's nothing. And Poch was pretty high on him afterward, said that he played his way. He, like, confounded expectations and played his way into consideration, which is good. And that's what you want guys to do in this circumstance.
That's what you have to have guys who do that, right? I mean, that's why Luna is, you know, even though, you know, maybe he hasn't recaptured his form, like, he's still going to be a part of the conversation because he proved himself. No, I mean, I hear what you're saying.
I think he's getting lower on the list. I'll be honest with you.
I think it's really unlikely he drops off the list.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to get a couple more calls, but if he keeps playing like he did in the last two games, I think
that might be true. Then,
not going to keep getting calls.
If you play yourself out, you play yourself out. You know,
right? I mean, remember he did it in the January camp, was where he sort of really endeared himself to Poch, and he hasn't been that great for the national team since then. He does hit a beautiful layoff to Damian Downs at the end of this game that ends up not being a goal. So there was that, but I don't know how good he was otherwise. I think he could work in this, you know, as this dual 10 thing. He did it. I think Jack McGlynn was honestly better than he was at the end of this game, which is a wild thing to say because Jack McGlynn was on the dribble in space multiple times, which is not something you often see. Like, what? Of course, it didn't take long for Japan to close.
Yeah, no, thank you.
But Jack McGlynn also ripped a couple with his left foot, hit the crossbar, and one that I was sure he scored on. The man has a cultured left foot. There's no doubt about that. And hit a couple nice set pieces with it. Joe actually said something on TSS today that I thought was especially important when it comes to Zendejas. Zendejas on the field meant that Christian Pulisic took no set pieces.
Yeah.
And that's
a good thing.
That's a good thing because Seb Berhalter did not seem to have that cachet.
Yeah.
But Zendejas seems to. And Alex Zendejas and Christian Pulisic came up together. They were on youth national teams together. They know each other pretty well. So I think that there's something about that rapport as well. But also Zendejas is like, no, I'm taking all these.
Good.
The second half of the Korea game, Christian started taking set pieces, and they went about as well as you'd expect.
Yeah. I think he had like a 6-month window where he looked pretty good at it, but then, you know, before and after has been pretty bad.
This pool, like, that's the thing. Like, when you have Berhalter and Jack McGlynn and Alex Zendejas, there is no fucking reason Pulisic should ever have to take a set piece. Like, they actually have guys who have limitations otherwise.
Yeah. Who
are elite set piece delivery guys. Yep. But there's just no reason that Pulisic should be taking them. I understand, you know, 3 years ago why Pulisic was taking him. They didn't have necessarily other options that were that great. They don't have that problem now. So, anyway. Okay, one thing to look for. Sporting Kansas City has a Salt Lake. I don't know. I mean, RSL is a bit of a remade team, so it's hard to sort of get a good vibe on kind of where they're at. A lot of their signings just recently started playing, so they have Rowan Cruz, they have Olatunji. Olatunji scored last weekend in their in his first game, but they've lost their last 3 games. So I don't know if this means they're looking to turn that around. Probably shouldn't have lost versus Minnesota. Gave up an own goal early, and then Minnesota does what they do, which is take advantage of any small chance you give them.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, they brought in Yedlin at right back. They've got Cruz and Olatunji. Johnny Russell's been playing a fair bit for them lately. They'll have Diego Luna back from national team camp. So playing at altitude in Salt Lake is always never a bargain. I don't know. I don't know what to expect from this one. I mean, we'll have Zoran Basong back, which I guess is a good thing. But, also, how much is an upgrade from Jacob Bartlett to Zoran Basong? Honestly.
Yeah, I would say minimal.
I mean, it's not nothing, but it's not significant.
Right. Yeah, as we have continued to say, all right, it's really about at this point about player development and player evaluation, and we'd like to see Montez get another run out so that we can have more data to look at and make what we consider to be an informed decision about his future status at the club. And we'd like to see Pulskamp and Miller and Davis and Bartlett all continue to show that they belong. I mean, these are this is a time when if you're not evaluating the players who you might bring back next year, then you are continuing to cement the impression of the players who are going to come back. And so that's kind of a delicate balance to walk, because you have those three center backs where Miller's going to be here next year, but you don't know necessarily about Volader or Montez. And so I would imagine this is one of those cases where I would imagine that we see something similar to what we saw this last weekend with maybe Basong instead of Bartlett, and then expect those subs to come on in the 60-minute mark or whatever. And there's not going to be any I think reinventing the wheel, right? There's no I would be surprised if there were surprises, haha.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. I would expect to see Montez again. I don't get the feeling that Zavagnin was frustrated or upset with his performance. He brought Miller on late, but I think that was more to keep Miller engaged and make sure that he's
right.
You know what I mean? That's managing that situation more than anything else. Ian James will be back from U17 camp, which was apparently an interesting one. He came on as a sub in the first game. I think they lost 2-1, and they lost 8-2 in the second game, in which he started. But also, apparently, Kevin Sullivan got in a fight with Mathis Albert. So, I mean, again, this is all rumor and innuendo and whatnot. And I'm really not trying to get any further into that conversation than we just did. But there's opportunities for them to do different stuff at center back, but I'm not sure that we'll see it. And like you said, Basong moves back into midfield. Even with Manu Garcia being back in training this week, you have to imagine that even if he makes the trip to Salt Lake, it's a very limited minutes availability kind of thing. Eric Tommy only played 15. We saw him warming up against Colorado, but never got on the field. So who knows what his fitness is? And honestly, what's the point of risking either of those guys?
Zero.
I mean, Tommy, if you decide to bring him back, you decide to bring him back. You've got the sample size, you know what he is.
Yep.
Right? Manu is your designated player midfielder.
Yep.
And this team is not doing anything this season other than trying to stay above St. Louis in the standings. So, literally just there's no point in risking him. So yeah, I tend to be with you. I think the lineup is probably going to be pretty similar, except hopefully Ndenbe can start.
I was just gonna mention that. Yes, please.
I don't know what's going on with him fitness wise, but this is the conversation around Ndenbe is related to this. We have to be realistic about this. The man has never played more than 2,000 minutes ever.
Yep. Yeah, that's absolutely a valid and excellent point.
So, if you're going to pay $700,000 a year for a fullback just because he progresses the ball well half the season,
right? All I'm saying is that you have to have another plan to progress the ball. That's all I'm saying.
I would prefer to have one that I can rely on a little bit more than him.
I completely and totally agree with you.
All right. Well, we'll see how it goes in Salt Lake. Hopefully Johnny Russell doesn't do it to us again.
We have to beat Salt Lake, or we have to at least get points in Salt Lake, because St. Louis City plays Montreal this weekend. So we gotta keep laying the hammer down, as Mitch Holthus would say.
I mean, the vibes in St. Louis are pretty bad right now.
It's glorious. It's so bad.
Maybe the poor vibes will allow the Club de Foot, whatever the fuck they're called, to put a result in, and then we will continue to bathe in the glory of the Schadenfreude.
Yes.
And until then, and until next week, I'm Drew. He's Cody. We will talk to y'all soon.
Go Sporting.